9 months ago, I started a weight training program at the age of 40 because after having a body composition test earlier this year, it showed I was skinny fat, meaning I had low muscle mass and high body fat, which likely would have caused me all kinds of health issues in the future. In this video, I'm going to show you what my new exercise plan involves. I'll share some tips on what's been effective for me for building muscle and losing fat, and I'll show you the results that I've had. I've got 11 things to cover and each one is as important as the other one. So let's get started. It's my first day back at the gym and I can't believe that I haven't been to a gym in probably about 2.5 years. Here's me at the start of the programme. I looked okay, depending on who you ask, a bit podgy around the edges, but more important than how I looked on the outside, the inside was telling a different story. The comprehensive blood test I did earlier this year showed I had some chronic deficiencies which were causing me all kinds of health issues, including intense fatigue, anxiety and brain fog. And you can watch the video about the blood test up here. The guy who analysed my blood and stool results is clinical nutritionalist and performance coach Phil Richards. Phil then designed a food, supplement and exercise plan for me based on my results. So let's see what this exercise plan is all about. And a quick note to say, before this, I did do exercise regularly. I ran, did yoga, some kettlebell stuff, things like that, but no weight training because I didn't like it. When I first started this weight training program, I had connotations of what I thought it might look like. I thought it would be like bodybuilder training, where I had to focus on one body part extensively, and I didn't want to be a bodybuilder. And I didn't want to do that style of training, hence my resistance to do exercise like that in the past. But unlike a bodybuilder training plan, my workouts include multiple body parts in one session. And I call a workout like this a Linda, based on this video by James Smith. The idea of doing a Linda and training multiple body parts in one session is it's a sustainable way for a normal person to train. And I say normal in terms of not a bodybuilder or an athlete. And doing it this way means not absolutely ruining ourselves, training just one body part and then being really achy the next day and then not wanting to train. This exercise plan is focused on health rather than aesthetics. And at this stage, if you're thinking, good on you LT, well done for doing your weight training, but I don't want to do weight training and I don't want to get muscly. There are many reasons to build and maintain muscle, especially as we get older. This is about us managing our health now and in our later years. And just because we lift weights doesn't mean we're going to look like this. The benefits of building and maintaining muscle are: it's good for overall strength, it prevents injury, builds bone strength, it's good for balance and coordination, it manages blood sugar and improves insulin resistance. It controls body fat, decreases disease, improves mood and mental well-being. We look and feel better through self-confidence, and generally it improves our overall quality of life. All of these are for men and women of any age. In fact, it becomes even more important to weight train as we get older, as muscle mass tends to decrease as we age.
As you get older, exercise becomes more, not less important for maintaining your health.
So even though building muscle can be about flexing in the mirror, it should be more about our long-term health. Often these Linda style workouts include supersets, where an exercise is done back to back with another one. For example, doing a bicep curl and then a tricep extension. Supersets are an effective way to get a workout done in a short amount of time. And I have got an example of 1 week of my training plan, and it includes things like supersets and also all of the tips that I talk about in this video. And if you want to get that, you can download that via the link in the description. Most of my training sessions start with big movements, like a squat, deadlift or bench press. Starting with the big moves allows us to give our full energy at the start, but there's another great reason as well, which I'll explain in a minute. Phil has got a bit of a USP. Not only does he start the majority of his training sessions with the big exercises, some, but not all, of the workouts begin with doing 10 sets of that big exercise. And 10 sets is a lot, and some people say that 10 sets is too much for a normal person. One, because their body won't be conditioned to do the 10 sets, and two, they might get bored with doing so many sets or maybe not give enough effort for those sets to work. But here's the theory. The idea behind these 10 sets is that it shocks the body, which then releases a cocktail of hormones, which then helps muscle growth. These hormones don't just affect the body part that's been exercised. Instead, doing this has a full body effect. The release of hormones has a cascade effect on the whole body, meaning that the exercises done after that big exercise have a greater chance of adaptation. And in this case, adaptation means building more muscle, which then gives the benefits that I spoke about earlier. And if you're thinking this all sounds a lot to do, or I'm too old, or I'm not in very good shape, then my dad, who's 72, just started this Feel workout plan, and he has never done anything like this ever before. He started the Feel plan 6 months ago after seeing my results and also learning about the benefits of weight training. And he's working within his capabilities and he's getting great results, which I'll tell you about later. So coming back to this 10 sets being too much for a normal person, maybe it could be argued the exact opposite. A normal person would benefit from being stronger and having more muscle, and this 10 set method does exactly that. But look, this isn't me saying that these methods are the only way to do things or the best way. This is me sharing what's worked for me, and also it's worked for my dad. The next technique isn't something that I've ever considered before, and it is an absolute winner for getting results, and that's tempo. And to help me explain it, then I need to show you how my workouts are set out each week. I get my plan from Phil each Sunday on an app, ready for the week ahead. On each day is my routine, and then here you'll see the tempo. So for this exercise, it's X, 1, 3, 1. The X is a powerful contraction, then it's a 1 second hold on the contraction, a 3 second release, then a 1 second pause before going again. It's all well and good pumping out reps like this, but it's using the momentum of the weight moving rather than focusing on the muscle contraction. Using the tempo stimulates the muscle on each part of the movement. This next technique is my favourite thing that I've learnt since starting this programme, and I'm surprised it's not spoken about more often, and it's stretch focused training. In many of the instruction videos, Phil explains the importance of getting the full range of the movement, in particular the stretch. I'd always thought that the contraction part of the exercise was the most important part. I think that's true, but the opposite is also true. When the muscle is stretched under load, something very cool happens. The muscle senses the stretch and triggers a number of processes in order to build more muscle. So you're doing the same exercise, using the same weight and doing the same number of sets and reps, but now focusing on the stretch part of the exercise, potentially getting 1.5 times better result. That's huge. Some more examples of stretch focused training are on the leg extension, getting a full stretch on the quad at the bottom, on the lat pull down, fully stretching into the lats at the top before doing the next rep, squatting to parallel or lower if you can. The overhead tricep rope extension is a great one, and the dumbbell bench press is good compared to the barbell bench press because we can move the dumbbells lower than the bar, which gives a greater stretch in the chest. Team this stretch focused training with the tempo, and my goodness, we are on to an absolute winner. Kudos and recognition to Phil, who's taught me all of these techniques. If you'd like to give a Phil training plan a go, then I've linked to his website in the description. You can also try that 1 week example plan. Beware, it's brutal. Just as important as weight training and building muscle is cardiovascular health. Most of the cardio sessions Phil includes in my programme is interval training. One of his favourite sessions for me is absolutely brutal. It's 10 times 400 metre sprints. Well, I say sprints. It's more just me running as fast as I can, which ultimately isn't sprinting, but anyway. He also includes some short intervals at the end of some of the sessions, like 3 times 30 seconds maximum effort on the assault bike with 90 seconds rest. I used to think that the key to fat loss was doing lots of cardio. It's burning calories after all.
A lot of other people would say, the way to lose weight is just to do lots of cardio, run a lot.
Yeah.
Good idea?
No. No.
Since starting this plan, I've learnt about something called chronic cardio. Not sure if you've ever heard of it. It's that thing where someone will spend ages on a cardio machine in an attempt to burn fat. That's definitely one way of doing it, but it doesn't tend to be that effective.
Cortisol goes up because you're doing so much cardio. So progesterone goes down. Well, progesterone keeps estrogen in check. Now estrogen can go up, and if you have too much estrogen, eventually what's going to happen is it's going to be stored as fat. You know what's going to help you to lose weight is more weightlifting, build more muscle so you have more insulin receptor sites.
Having muscle is the furnace for managing body fat. Before I move on to the next tip, there's some absolutely fascinating things I want to tell you, and I'm just so surprised that they're not spoken about more often when it comes to fitness and how different people respond to exercise. For example, I've learned that it's much easier for some people to build muscle than others, and this is to do with them having more satellite cells in their muscle. Without going too mad on this, it's like you building a house and then me building exactly the same house. You've got 100 workers to help you, and I've got 30. Well, your house is going to go up quicker. But more interestingly, the harder you guys work, the more helpers come and help. The harder I work, no one else turns up. So some people build their houses or their muscles much quicker. When they're under stress, they build even more. Building muscle also relies on having optimal hormone levels. It also depends on the ratio of fast twitch muscle fibres to slow twitch. And then there's those with a myostatin deficiency. Just wait for this. Myostatin inhibits muscle growth. So having this deficiency means they are able to grow really big muscles much faster. So you and I could do the same workout, we could put in the same amount of effort, be eating the same food, getting the same rest, and yet our body would respond very differently because of our biology. And I explain these things because it's easy to look at fitness influencers, other people at the gym, or even our friends and compare our bodies to theirs. They may have a biology that's working in their favour, and that's okay. Just because we may not be blessed with fantastic biology, we have to do our best in taking responsibility and managing our own health. That's the stuff in our biology that we can't change. But then there's the stuff that we can control, like nutrition, stomach health, sleep and stress, which all have an effect on how we respond to exercise. Despite this exercise program mainly focusing on building muscle, the overall program that I've got is a holistic one, and it's looking at things like supplements, nutrition and self-care.
You've got to stress to respond, and you can only respond if you're well nourished and you're healthy, and healthy emotionally, physically.
And Phil explains the importance of me managing stress, not only in terms of health, but also in terms of getting results from the exercise I'm doing.
Another reason so many people fail to see results is not because they don't train hard enough, it's because they're just not healthy enough to train. So they're already coming in here in a state of stress. This is nothing more than stress. So you can't keep putting stress on stress and expecting a response, because in the end, you keep doing that and the body will just say, I'm done. So this is why I'm really big on optimizing health and then optimizing strength. They literally are synergistic together, yeah?
When you're talking, I'm just thinking, well, I'll put that in the video.
Since starting this program, I've been using this Lumin device to track how my body uses food for fuel, and it tells me if I'm burning fat or carbohydrates. And just recently, I've been experiencing some mid-level stress on a bit of a constant basis, which isn't ideal, and it's affecting my energy, mood, and my sleep, which interestingly then had a knock-on effect on how my body metabolises food. And the goal with Lumin isn't to always be in a fat burn zone, but instead for the body to be able to switch between the fat and the carbohydrates, which is a sign of good metabolic health. Each morning I blow into the Lumin and it measures the amount of carbon dioxide in my breath. Some days I want to be in the fat burn zone and others in the carbohydrate zone. And recently, my results haven't been as good as they have been. It just goes to show the fact of how stress is having a negative effect on my body. I'm thinking that some nature walks and some chill out time with my friends will help. I had no idea before that stress could actually affect the results that I'm getting from my exercise, and then also it affects overall health. If you want to try Lumin, then I've added a link to it in the description. Sleep and recovery days are another thing that I've learnt about recently, and this one really surprises me. As part of my plan, I have deload weeks and rest weeks. This isn't something that I've done before, so I was interested to learn about it. Each week I have between 4 to 6 workouts, depending on load and intensity. Then every 4 to 6 weeks, I either get a deload week or a rest week. During a deload week, I'll only get 2 workouts. And during a rest week, I'll get a full 7 days off. This didn't really make sense to me at first, because I thought that surely by me not doing my exercise, I would lose the progress. But it's during these deload and rest weeks that my body gets an opportunity to recover and adapt to the training. And I always thought that my body would make the adaptation during the exercise, but that's not the case. It's during the exercise that the body gets the signals to adapt, but only during sleep and recovery is when the body actually makes the adaptations, and in this case, making more muscle. Over time, when we're pushing hard with our workouts and pulling silly faces like this, the body and the nervous system will accumulate these signals, and after several weeks, it might reach a point where the progress stops because the body hasn't got sufficient time to recover. And that's where the rest weeks come in. It gives the body a chance to catch up on the signals and actually make the adaptations.
Exercise, if it's done properly, is a stressor. And you can't keep stressing day in, day out, week in, week out. You've got to allow the nervous system to regenerate, the hormonal system, allow the fuel supplies to come in, reduce the inflammation.
During the rest weeks, I still exercise, but instead I do yoga, nature walks, sauna, prehab, mobility, stuff like that. This is about balancing the yin with the yang. And I asked Phil if everyone should do deload and rest weeks, and he said only if that person is training hard enough to warrant it. It's mad to think that more rest can actually mean better results. Moving back into the strength training, did you know that grip strength is linked to life expectancy? When I first heard this, I thought it was a bit odd, but then I realised that having good grip strength can be a reflection of good strength, as in being able to carry heavy things, and that would mean someone is strong. And a strong body is good for long-term health. You may or may not have seen a previous video of mine where I tested my grip strength, and the results came back less than ideal, which isn't great. And there was me thinking that I'd have to do a ton of boring farmers walks, but no need, Phil to the rescue. There's lots of multifunctional exercises in my programme that include grip strength, but the great thing is that it's all mixed in with other body parts, so I'm getting 2, 3, 4, 5 birds with one stone, and I'll show you some of the weird exercises in a minute. But first, a fascinating fact. Phil recently taught me that by gripping the fitness equipment tight, so for example doing a pull-up or doing a bench press, by gripping the bar tight, it sends a signal to the brain and the muscles that a strong response is needed, and it can make the muscles stronger. It sounds whack, but try it. It makes total sense. Some of the multifunctional exercises in my plan, some of which include grip strength, are very bizarre. Now, I've read some Tim Ferriss books, and that means that I've seen and I've tried some unusual exercises, and then I started the Phil plan. I'd never seen some of these exercises before. There's the cable snatch, shrug and external rotation, the lunge and reach, don't even get me started on how awful it is, med ball push down, lateral step overs, high knee step ups, and kettlebell ups. And the twisty stuff like kettlebell rotations, cable punch, and cable row. Some of these exercises are pretty unusual.
The less functional your job is, the more functional your training needs to be. So things like cable rotations, cable punches, cable pushes, that's important, because if you've got a desk job and you're sitting down for 8 to 10 hours a day, so the spine needs to be moved as well.
And I'll admit, I felt a bit paranoid about doing them at the gym at first because I'd never seen anyone do them before. And you know how it is. I thought people might look and think, what's she doing? But anyway, after doing them a few times and understanding the benefit, I'm not paranoid anymore. These exercises are phenomenal. Since doing all of this stuff, I've learned about strength training and hypertrophy training. Strength is about increasing muscle strength and hypertrophy is about increasing muscle size. And I always thought that muscle strength and muscle size were the same thing, but they're not. I've heard Andrew Huberman and Andy Gulpin talk about the importance of doing both strength and hypertrophy training, so I was thrilled to see them both in my training plan. Strength training involves doing an exercise for between 1 and 5 repetitions, and it makes the muscle stronger. Hypertrophy training involves doing an exercise for between 8 and 20 reps. Sometimes it's even up to 30 reps, although that's rare, and that makes the muscles bigger. The combination of strength and hypertrophy ensures that we not only gain muscle for a healthy body, but it also allows us to be strong. And for this strength and hypertrophy training, I've got benefit from wearing barefoot style shoes. I wear the Vivo Barefoot Motus trainers. The minimal sole allows me to get really stable on the ground, and then when I push away on something like a squat, it means the force goes directly into the floor rather than being absorbed into the cushion of the shoe. If you'd like to try barefoot style shoes, use LAURAT 15 on the Vivo Barefoot website for 15% off. Another important factor for getting results with our exercise is writing our results. You can either do that in a notebook or you can use your phone. I record my results in the app and I write the reps and the weight and sometimes how difficult it was. Recording results allows us to track our progress, and we want to aim to match and increase our weight and our reps over time. You cannot measure what you do not record. And now I've saved the best till last, and then I'm going to share my results with you. Before starting this weight training program, I was naive in thinking that giving a 6 or a 7 out of 10 on effort would be enough for me to build muscle. At the start, Phil made it clear that I would need to give this my all, hitting a 9 or a 10 out of 10, and that the body requires a lot of effort to even think about creating an ounce of muscle. He calls this effort ferocious effort. The idea of ferocious effort, it was hard for me to get my head round at first. Surely all this extra stress would be bad for me, and at this point in my life, I was trying to reduce stress because I was always so tired. But from my blood test, Phil could tell that I wasn't training effectively and therefore wasn't creating a change in my body. He knew this because there's a marker in the blood test results called creatinine, which is an indication of how hard the body is working during exercise. And in my case, it showed muscle degeneration, hence the reason I was skinny fat. And I'm going to get my bloods done again in a few months, and it'll be so interesting comparing all the results, including the creatinine, after doing 12 months of ferocious effort. And with this ferocious effort comes the faces. And the noises.
Okay.
Again, I was a bit paranoid at first, but then I realised it's okay to make faces and it's okay to make noises. In fact, it's probably a good thing. It shows ferocious effort, which then gives results. So I'm 41 years old and I've never done anything like this, and I didn't even like weight training before. I've been doing this ferocious training plan for 9 months. What are the results? At the start of the plan, I was 64.1 kilograms with around 41 kilograms of muscle and a body fat of 32.4%. After 9 months, I'm 60.4 kilograms with around 44 kilograms of muscle and around 25% body fat. I'm not forgetting that this progress has been teamed with an eating and a supplement plan. And I'll be totally honest, even though those results are good, I'm surprised that I haven't gained more muscle because I have been giving this everything, and it's just proven to me how much effort is actually required for the body to build muscle. Strength all over my body is improved, and despite my initial concern about this program aggravating a shoulder rotator cuff injury, that injury has actually gone away as a result of strengthening and mobilising the joint. My dad has had a similar result too. Let's not forget about his results. He's 72, he's been doing the program for only 4 months, and although we haven't got body composition results, then he told me that he's able to see muscle in his arms and his legs for the first time in his life. He even sent me this picture the other day. And trust me, my dad isn't the kind of guy to take a selfie of himself flexing in the mirror. And it just goes to show that we can improve our fitness and also build muscle, even into our 70s. Go Dad. All this may seem like a lot of effort, and it is, but isn't that what it's all about? Putting in the effort to have good health and a good life. Because we only get one chance at this, so we might as well give it our best shot. Download a template of the week's training plan and all of the tips that I've talked about in this video from the link in the description. Hope you've enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.